Today we're going to make a beaded keychain with 20mm bubblegum beads and an acrylic blank. So today I'm going to show you a fun way to use up some of your mini-sized acrylic blanks. I am using beads from Etsy and some hardware from Amazon, and I will link everything that I use down below in the description box. I'm going to take you through step by step on how to make this keychain. Let me know in the comments down below if you have any questions at all, and make sure that you subscribe and shoot me that thumbs up if you like the video. Let's get going.
So to get started with this keychain, you want to first finish decorating your acrylic blank. And the first step is to remove the backing from your blank. For this particular one, I'm going to just work with one side. So I'm going to keep the backing on the back side, and I'm only going to work on the front side. You need to make sure that you prep your acrylics. It's really important that you give them a nice light sand with 400 grit sandpaper. I really do recommend these sanding pads from the CrystaLac company, and I will link them down in the description box below. Once you have sanded it, you want to wash it, or just rinse it, and then dry it. And I'm going to base coat this with the Grunge Grage Flippin' Awesome paint. And I'm going to use the silver liquid mica as well. So I did 2 coats of the Grunge Grage a couple hours apart. You should just do 2 or 3 coats so you have full coverage if you want a base coat. For this particular one though, I am going to also mix the silver liquid mica into a little bit of Brite Tone. This is just going to give my blank a little bit of shimmer. So I'm going to drop it into some Brite Tone. A little bit goes a long way. I'm going to stir it up, and I'm going to add it to my acrylic. I'm just going to spread it around. I'm going to use this little silicone brush because I have such little pieces on this mini-sized acrylic. I'll put the link to the acrylics down below as well. These particular keychains have 1.5 inch acrylics. While it's wet, I took some of the Hollow Bling chunky glitter from Sass & Crafts and sprinkled it on just where the wings are. I wanted this to sort of show through when I put my vinyl on. So I just sprinkled a little bit of chunky glitter on that blank, and then I let it dry for 4 hours. I always clean up the edges with my fingers. After 4 hours, I'm going to start coating with Brite Tone. You're going to need a couple of coats, but make sure you let each coat dry for 4 hours. Remember, you need a teeny tiny little drop for an entire layer. It should be as thin as possible. I just spread it around with my finger, and even that was too much. I had to take some off. You need to be careful to keep them super thin. So spread it around with your finger, making sure you get all the way to the edges, and then let each coat dry for 4 hours. Do about 4 coats before it's time to sand. After a couple coats, take your 400 grit sandpaper and give it a light sand over that glitter to help level it out. After you're done sanding, rinse it with water, let it dry completely, and then keep adding coats. And you want to continue this process until your surface is totally and completely smooth. The amount of layers it takes is really going to depend on how flat your glitter is. So I'm going to use the wet method to add my vinyl. The wet method is just adding a little bit of soap into a big spray bottle of water and spraying the blank and then spraying the vinyl. Because it has such little features, I wanted to make sure I could get it to line up. The reason I like the wet method is because it makes your vinyl repositionable. So if you don't get it fully lined up, you can remove it and reposition it. Take a squeegee tool and squeegee out all of the water, and then let your blank dry for a couple hours. After a couple hours, you can remove the vinyl, your transfer tape, and then you can continue coats of Brite Tone. Remember to keep your coats extremely thin, and you're going to keep coating till it is fully smooth. Let each coat dry at least 4 hours. I'm using this elastic beading string and a needle. I have an embroidery needle. It's a little bit bigger, but any needle will be fine. So you can slip one end through the needle, but the first step really should be to fold your elastic in half and slide it through the hole on your blank. And then I made sure that I had it sort of lined up so the ends were even, and that way I could slip my other end of the elastic through the needle as well. From there, I again evened it out and slid my needle through that hole so it would loop over the hole. So you can see it's looped onto the acrylic. And then from there, I fed my needle through the beads. Now these are 20 millimeter bubblegum beads that I got on Etsy. I will link those down below, but I also think that 18 millimeter would be a nice size as well. So from there, once I get that pulled through, I'm going to attach it to an alligator clasp. Again, I got that on Amazon and I will link that down below as well. So I looped that through and fed the needle back through just the top bead and pulled it as tight as I could. And what I did to sort of help hold it in place is loop it around right in that spot. So I took my needle, looped it around and back through to tie just a little bit of a knot because I needed this to sort of be a little more stable. So again, I went around the back and then just looped it through, and I pulled it as tight as I could. And then from there, I just took the elastic and just tied one little knot, again, just to reinforce that I needed this to be stable, because I decided to do a knot here that I'm going to try to explain to you. So you're going to go right over left, pull it through, and then go left over right and pull it through. And then this way, this type of knot gets tighter the more you pull on it. So it will be very secure when you're all done. So I pulled it as tight as I could, and I trimmed off the excess that you can't see because it sort of hides itself in the hole of the bead. And then since I forgot, I'm going to remove the backing from the other side of the blank. Remember that there's not just one way to secure the beads to your acrylic blank. I chose that type of knot. I don't even know what it's called. Maybe you have more knowledge as to what a better way would be. So test it out, and I hope you like this keychain. I think it's so cute. For more acrylic tutorials, click on that next video.